Not golden.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome into hour two. Let's talk a little O-line here real quick, man. And this has been kind of a topic here lately on a lot of the sports talk shows. I know Wildy and Tausch have covered it a lot with Balaga and Tauscher. I love hearing those guys talk O-line play. But Wes Hawkowitz tweeted this out. Welcome to day 2 of Packers minicamp. Rasheed Walker and Nate Hobbs not practicing today, so we'll get another extended look at Jordan Morgan at left tackle today. Walker didn't do team yesterday, so people were trying to figure out, like, why is it that Jordan Morgan was playing left tackle over Rasheed Walker? It may be rehab related. He was definitely with the rehab group today, and if you kind of read that tweet from Wes Hawkowitz, it seems like he might have been rehabbing yesterday as well, or instead out of team activities. Now, I will say this. If you were to say, Clayton, paint me a perfect picture, or you tell me what's the perfect scenario of who would play left tackle for the Packers this year. If you could say both players are going to play at the same level, it doesn't matter talent, doesn't matter none of that. You get the hand pick. That's the dude who's going to be the best player at left tackle. I would want it to be Jordan Morgan. Jordan Morgan, that's no shot at Rasheed Walker. He's a hell of a pass blocker. We know he struggled in the run game a bit. But Jordan Morgan, first-round pick, he played left tackle his entire high school and collegiate career. He has been molded to play left tackle. Now, the other thing, Jordan Morgan's under contract for this year plus 2 more years on a rookie deal, which you guys know are a steal in the National Football League with the new CBA that was negotiated there several years ago. Our boy Rasheed Walker, about to get paid. So you avoid that big paycheck if Jordan Morgan does slide in that left tackle spot. Now, here's the thing. If Rasheed Walker is the better left tackle this year, you let him have at it, you know. Don't try to force Jordan Morgan out there if he's not as good of a player as Rasheed Walker. I think what you're going to get in Jordan Morgan, he might not be quite the pass blocker that Sheed is, but I think it's close enough. And what you'll gain in the run blocking aspect, that'll be your better pick there at left tackle. I want to get your all's take on that because, again, if you're just strictly looking at it from a contractual standpoint, Tim, you want Jordan Morgan to be your dude, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can say that without, like you said, it's not a knock on Sheed. You know, it's just kind of the nature of the business. And it's a real concern because, you know, we're not talking about the real big contract that needs to be addressed, which is Zach Tom getting a payday here. You know, that's going to be on the minds of Goody and the boys over at 1265. So I think you're right, Clay. In a perfect world, Jordan Morgan steps into that role. And let's be honest, even if he's not quite there yet, you know, he's not going to get better if he's not getting reps, you know, and he's never played left tackle in the NFL. So, you know, the quicker you can get him out there and exposed and, you know, getting that work in, the better his chance at maybe solidifying that starting role. And, you know, in the future, that chance is going to get much greater with the more reps he gets. So, you know, we'll see what happens with Rasheed Walker and his contract, you know.
What do you think, Jacob? Would you rather Rasheed take a step forward and re-sign him and then keep Jordan Morgan somewhere else? Or would you rather see Jordan Morgan kind of step into that role and avoid that huge – because with Rasheed, you're looking at – and it's a wide opinion here, right? Mm-hmm. I can see how some people would say, probably $10 million per. Others are going, no, this dude's going to get paid like a top 5 tackle. That's how well he's pass blocked. If that's the case, you're looking at it's probably somewhere in the middle, probably somewhere between 18 to 25 million a year on average, I would imagine.
Yeah. Sorry. The chat is just convinced that Daryl is a serial killer. So it's just funny to watch them go at it here. What I will say is that here's what I would want as Tim, you're too quick. Here's what I would want as my preference. Being that this is a contract year from Mr. Rasheed Walker, I believe the dude is going to get his money. He's going to get the bag. He's going to get it pretty good. We probably shouldn't re-sign Rasheed Walker. He's a blessing that we got in the 7th round that absolutely balled out to a point where I don't think anybody could have expected it other than myself because, you know, I love 7th rounders for no reason. They're like lost puppies to me. But in all seriousness, I think that he's going to go somewhere, have a great career, but the amount of money that we would have to pay him is ridiculous, more than the fact that we do have a few guys waiting in the wings that shown us that he needs to have his time in the sun, and 1 for contract reasons, 2, like you said, for his Jordan Morgan specifically for what he's done his whole career, how well he's played, the draft capital we invested in him. I think it just needs that It means that if he's good enough this year to overtake Walker, do it in a heartbeat. But if Walker still is that guy, let him ball out. Let him make another team spend way too much money to take him off our hands in a nice way. And then we have another year of Jordan Morgan developing and really honing his skill at that left tackle position. That would be my number one goal or preference.
Definitely. Vahan in the chat, good to see you, buddy. He says, would you trade Walker for a third or wait to get a fourth comp pick? That's a great question. And let me go to Dave's real quick here. He said, wouldn't that affect his comp pick value if he loses his starting job? Maybe mid-season trade would be more beneficial in your scenario, but we've seen how fast losing a left tackle can hurt us. Yeah, I would not want to trade him for exactly what you said, Dave. If, God forbid, Jordan Morgan does win the left tackle spot, you trade Sheed, and then Morgan goes down, you're kind of screwed. We're right back to where we were last year. You know what I mean? And I do feel like we added some extra depth and value to the offensive line room. So I'm glad you brought that up. As far as the comp pick is going to be determined by how much money he gets in free agency, right? Like that has nothing to do with whether it's a starter or not. Now, if you're saying teams won't pay him top money if he loses his starting job, that's a great point too, right? So that's a very, very well thought out comment there, Dave. It is. Jacob's laughing at the chat. He's not laughing at your comment. That wasn't sarcasm.
No, that's a great one. Just Chuck checking in to make sure. Hey, Daryl, we cool, right? LOL.
Unbelievable. So yeah, it's one of those things that I can see what you're saying there. You kind of lose that value where teams, although man, the tape is the tape. You know, the team's willing to pay him before he loses that starting job. I can't imagine just because he lost his job, they're now going. Now that's going to be their argument, right, Tim? When they go into negotiations with their agent, like, hey, he wasn't even a starter last year. So it's a great point by Dave. I'm glad you mentioned that, Dave.
When he put that up, I think that the first thing that popped into my mind was for Vahan was, when do we propose this trade? Is this a trade that happens, like you said, somebody said mid-season after we've seen that Morgan's a dude, and then we're like, hey, let's make this decision right now, or is there injuries involved? I would not like it right now.
I mean, I think if you're going to trade him, you're going to try and get the third, right? You know, and if you gotta settle for your
and I saw too.
Didn't
somebody say Deadfish was saying something about Walker could get us a 2027 third round comp pick? I mean, what I don't know. I'm not familiar with the criteria of what designates how high your comp picks go. Is it just depends on how many snaps and how well they played? Is there like a bunch of those metrics?
It's how much money they got in conjunction with how much money. It's basically it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a compensation pick. So if you lost a bunch of people in free agency and they got paid big bucks, that's the true value of a player, is what another team's willing to pay them, right?
Gotcha.
Now let's say that you lost 3 players and they all got paid big contracts, and then you signed, one player in free agency. Well, you're still down 2 significant players. That's how the compensation is determined. Now, if you go out and sign 3 yourself, you might not get any comp picks. It's kind of how that works. That's the way I understand it. I'm with you, Jacob. I'm kind of ignorant in that regard when it comes to how comp picks work as well. So Vahan said, would you trade Walker for a third or wait and get a fourth comp pick? I would want to hold on to him this year. That's me personally. I don't know. Yeah. Tim, how do you feel about that, man? Because that's nerve-wracking to think your left tackle would go down and you just traded the dude that might arguably be the best swing tackle in all of professional football if you keep a Rasheed Walker, just strictly from the pass blocking.
Yeah, I'm with that. I agree 100% for sure. And we can't forget about right guard implications here too. We've talked about Jordan Morgan possibly being tried over there, maybe competing with Sean Ryan, some of the other guys for a right guard spot. So, I don't think you cut and run from Rasheed too soon. I really don't.
Okay, good. I was just going to ask if this was a good segue. And go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, I was just going to say, since you brought that up, Tim, let's think about right guard for a minute. And again, guys, this is mini camp, or mandatory mini camp. This isn't like, hey, here's what the lineups are going to be. We're just going off of the most recent information here, right? Jordan Morgan, left tackle. They had Donovan Jennings at left guard, and Wildy and Tausch talked about this, and they were laughing about it. Wildy asked Matt LaFleur, so we noticed Donovan Jennings playing left guard with the ones last couple of days. I mean, is that something he's taking a step forward? And Matt said, has he? Like he didn't even know that he was playing left guard. Now he could have been playing stupid, but they made it sound like they were convinced like he didn't even recognize he's playing left guard. And Tauscher said, "Well, that ain't good for Jennings if he didn't even know where he was out there."
I think that's Coach LaFleur just having a little fun with the.
Hopefully it was, right? So
Yep.
you got Jordan Morgan at left tackle, Jennings at left guard, Monk at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. Now let's remove the muddy water here for a second. Okay, let's clear it up. Let's say that Jordan Morgan is your left tackle, your starting left tackle. Left guard is going to be Aaron Banks. He's rehabbing right now, okay? And then Jacob Monk, obviously that's going to be Elton Jenkins once they get the contract squared away. And I don't think anybody's concerned that's not going to get done, to be honest with you. So you're going to go Jordan Morgan, Aaron Banks, and you're going to go Elton Jenkins at center. And then I think it will be Sean Ryan at right guard, and then Zach Tom at right tackle. Now, if Rasheed Walker beats out Jordan Morgan for left tackle, I think Morgan goes back to right guard. Now, I think this is where you were going, Jacob. You correct me if I'm wrong. Let's say you do trade Rasheed Walker, right? If you had not traded him and Jordan Morgan or let's say Sean Ryan goes down at right guard and you still got Rasheed Walker on the roster, you pop Rasheed Walker in at left tackle, you kick Jordan Morgan over to right guard, and you're off and running. Now, it is worth mentioning, too, I'll just say this, that Anthony Belton was getting reps. I think he might have been with the ones a couple times, but it was definitely with the twos at right tackle. So now is he going to take Zach Tom's job? Absolutely not. But we've talked in the past that if Elton is not in the future, if they don't extend him and they just give him a little more guaranteed money, which many people think that's what they're doing with this whole contract dispute. If that's the case, then who knows, man? Maybe Zach Tom is the center of the future like they talked about last year, where the coaching staff, people get this mixed up, and I'm going to mention it several times throughout the course of the offseason because there's some people that think the coaching staff said Elton Jenkins is a great left tackle, a Pro Bowl left guard, and a Hall or all Pro left guard and a Hall of Fame center. They didn't say that about Elton. They said that about Zach Tom.
Okay, yeah.
And that's why people were like, "Whoa, is center in the future for Tom?" Now again, let's read the room a little bit. What have they done at offensive line? They went and got Aaron Banks, who is an absolute unit. He is huge, 6'6", 330. They drafted Anthony Belton, right? What is he? 6'6", 330. Zach Tom, 6'4", a little bit smaller. Zach Tom would fit perfectly at center if you have to go that route. So anyway, Jacob, what did that connect with your thought, or were you thinking something totally different there?
No, that was it was trying to figure out what the kind of musical chairs would be if this person goes, and where does this mean? I think I was more interested in if Rasheed just is the guy and he plays at left tackle, like you were saying, does that mean that he meaning Morgan slides over to right guard? If that's the case, that means Sean Ryan is the backup center, even though that it looks like Monk has been getting the most of the looks at center. And then, like you said, after this year, does the slate just completely get wiped clean, depending on what happens with Walker, or depending on, still, I guess there's a big question with Elton, not a huge question. Like you said, we probably think that's going to get resolved, but then just the repositioning of what's your best five. And it's not necessarily how much are we paying these guys, even though I think, unfortunately, that may have more of an influence on who starts, but I just want my best five. And if the best five means it's Zach Tom's at center, I'm cool with that. And like you talked about, the size would be almost ideal, like perfect. And it does seem like that they've taken an active, conscious step at saying, hey, we want to beef these dudes up and we want them to be maulers on the offensive line.
Yeah. And again, when you look at Jacob Monk, if he is the center of the future, he's very, very small. He's only like 6'2". So if you compare Jacob Monk to Zach Tom, if that is the center, if that's your choice for a center position 2-3 years down the road, Zach Tom would fit the mold of a bigger center, even though he's not quite as big as Josh Myers or Elton Jenkins. So
if that happened, who do you think hypothetically would move to right tackle? You think they put Anthony Belton or somebody over there? Or?
The fact that they're working Belton at right tackle right now, Tim, that's a great question. I think that's the way I would lean, is like, you draft him in the second round, you let him kind of play backup this year, get his feet under him, and then, God forbid, an injury happen, you get thrust in, you find out what you really got. But you're prepared that if you do move on from Elton Jenkins, I'm just going to be honest, and again, I'm just a stupid fan. I have no inside information. To me, it feels like what the Packers were planning on doing with drafting Anthony Belton was kick Elton Jenkins to center this year. You signed Aaron Banks. You got your left guard of the future for the next 2 to 4 years. And I think what they were going to do is let Elton play this year at center. Next year, kick Tom to center, and Anthony Belton steps right in the right tackle role. Now, I started hearing, no, he's going to be competing for guard. And again, it's early still, but now we're hearing he's working at right tackle. And it's like, this kind of feels like this is the long-term plan.
Okay.
And if you're thinking, okay, I don't want to get rid of Elton Jenkins next year, I completely understand. But if you don't touch the contract and you really force him to go out there and play this year, you cut bait next year, you free up $20 million in cap space if you just move on from Elton next year. And guess what?
Now we know why Big E feels the way he feels right now.
Right. Yeah.
It's about security. Now, the thing that I don't want to say fully disagree, I kind of disagree with like Tauscher and Bulagan is they're going, this isn't about getting an extension. This is about getting sweeten the pot a little bit, get a little bit of guaranteed money this year, right? And that could very well be true. But I think Elton's also looking up like, hey, man, how about y'all commit to me for the next 3 years of playing center? And I just don't know if Goody DiCaprio is willing to do that, seeing that, Elton's about to turn 30. So, and again, I'm just kind of speculating, but
I think that's a fair speculation because if you think about it logically, the scenario you just played out, that if you want to sit and wait just a little bit on the Tom contract, do you try to negotiate it as more of a center based than a left or a right tackle? You know what I mean? As far as do they do the same thing they did to Elton, but just in a little bit different maneuver? You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey man, we want to kick you inside. Therefore, this contract maybe ain't going to be right tackle type money, but we'll maybe give you more long term. I don't know. Does that make sense in your logic at all? Or
yeah, I think there's this blueprint. Like there's a thing that GMs call modeling the roster. Okay, not your kind of models that you're into, Jacob. We're talking about modeling the roster. Okay. And when you model the roster out, and this is GM 101 right here, this is the stuff that Bill Walsh wrote about in his book back when he was the general manager and the head coach of the 49ers. This is stuff that Michael Lombardi talked about studying under Bill Walsh. You model the roster out and go, okay, here's our best roster or our best starting lineup this year. But 2 years down the road, we want to be projected to go in this direction. And it's all about rotating those heavy contracts out of the rotation. You bring in a younger, quote, hopefully better player, cheaper. That's the overall goal. So at the end of the day, we know Aaron Banks is going to get paid pretty good money for the next 2 years. He's under contract before, but you guys know how that's structured. You could get out of it in year 3 if you wanted to. It's more convenient to get out in year 4. So let's just call it a 3-year deal. So that's big money there. Rasheed Walker, rookie contract, you probably don't want to re-sign him if you're modeling the roster out. Elton Jenkins turning 30, you probably want to cut bait in a year or 2 so you're not paying someone who's 31, 32 years old big money. Sean Ryan, I think we all would agree, he's probably not going to get an extension unless he takes an extremely team-friendly deal. Zach Tom is the dude who's about to get the bag. So now what you've got is 2 guys who are getting paid damn good money on the offensive line, in Aaron Banks and Zach Tom, right? You want to try to stay away from having to pay that third offensive lineman big money, And in that case, if that's how you roll, guess what? You've got Jordan Morgan stepping into left tackle. He's still on a rookie deal. And guess what happens in year 3 of Aaron Banks' contract? Jordan Morgan's up for a contract now. Now you look to cut bait with Aaron Banks. You pay Jordan Morgan. You got Zach Tom and Jordan Morgan are now your golden gooses, right? I think that's how it's set to play out. But again, you look up and you got enough cap space and you feel pretty cushiony there. Why not just why not try to field the best 11 out there, no matter how much the price is? That's just not how general managers look at it, So got Vahan in here with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. You're too kind. He says, thank you for all the info. Appreciate it. No, thank you, man. Thanks for being a part of it. Thanks for asking great questions and making comments in the chat. Thank you for the dono there. So it's fun to, people get bored talking about offensive line play because in this fantasy world we live in where everybody's, we're all guilty of it. We're going to host a fantasy league this year. It's going to happen. People love receivers. They love the running backs. They love the quarterbacks and the hybrid tight ends and all these things. But I'm telling you, man, you look up at who wins Super Bowls, it's in the trenches, boys. And you got to make sure you've got the right guys in place. And the number one way of doing that is to massage that salary cap. Chuck Jaggers mock draft. No chance, Chuck. Get out of here with that. Hey, soon enough, it will be draft season again, though. I promise you that.
I think he wants a mock fantasy football draft.
I was going to say, hey, you know what? if there's ever a night coming up in the next couple months when we're in the dead zone and Clayton doesn't want to go live on like a Friday, I think me and Emilio should do ourselves a fantasy football mock.
There you go. You should, man. We'll watch the subs disappear. Ron Sample in the chat.
Don't put that name in my mouth right there.
Ron Sample in the chat says Monk shows 6'3", 308 on RAS. Thank you so much for that, Ron. I heard people saying 6'2". If the RAS card says 6'3", then that's what I always go off of because that's the combine measurements typically. However, I was going based off of what Wildy said too, and they were asking, like, Tauscher was asking Wildy, how does Monk look out there? And Wildy kind of made fun of him, like, they're not even doing anything right now. I mean, we seen the video of Jordan Morgan, right? Looked like he was steering a fake car, like he was steering Emilio's.
I'm glad you said that because I saw that. I said, please tell me that's not his off the ball move. Like, and you look at what we were watching. Really, what we were watching was Jordan Love doing passing drill. It looked like, take the snap, get quick release kind of thing. So it wasn't really an O lineman drill as much as it was a quarterback drill. But yeah, that did not look great at all.
Just one more thing quick. Where I don't see any Glover highlights. Can we get to the Glover highlights?
Yep. Emilio will be here in a little bit.
Yeah, Emilio. I'm sorry, Julio.
Yeah.
Julio right now will be saying, I don't know if you noticed, but look who's the backup right tackle on this depth chart from our lads.
Oh,
that's what he'd be saying.
All right. Then.
I'm with you, Jacob. I can't buy into the Travis Glover hype just yet, man. Ron Sample, though, back to what he said there, and the point I was trying to make about Wildy, we get off track so damn easy on this show. Wildy said, I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest with you. Wildy said, I'll tell you this, when you see him with the offensive line out there, he looks very, very small compared to everybody else. So that's why I mentioned that. And I've heard people say 6'2", but thank you, Ron. Again, the difference between 6'2" and 6'3", not a huge difference. Now, 6'2" to 6'4", significant, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. But, yeah, Lampkin, I love that Daryl brung this up. Daryl in the chat said Lampkin's the shortest offensive lineman. That dude was like 5'10", 5'11". You guys remember us talking about that? Yeah. And he was like 270 pounds, too.
Wasn't he Duke? I thought he was a guard from Duke, I thought.
Either Duke or UNC.
Maybe UNC. Yep, I'm thinking of the colors.
I think it was UNC, and then it was Jacob Monk came from Duke, I believe. What it was.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
And what's crazy is, like,
really well.
Yeah, some people really, really like Emory. Was it Emory Hunt that's on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, kind of one of his draft specialists? He said, that's my best center in the draft. I about spit out my Mountain Dew that day. I was like, what is this guy smoking? Now, I think he went undrafted, I believe. I could be wrong. But I know this. If Lampkin was 3 or 4 inches taller, he would have been one of the top centers taken in the draft for sure. So, anything else on offensive line here that you guys – want to hit on? Matter of fact, I'll pull this up real quick as we've got just a picture of Jennings out here. I just like sharing this stuff. And Mike Spofford, one of the GOATs of covering the Packers here, you got a picture of Donovan Jennings out there. Somebody in the chat help me out. What's Donovan Jennings' size, his measurables? How tall and how much does he weigh? Because he looks just as big as these guys that are out here right now. And again, you look at Jacob Monk right there. He don't look tiny, does he?
6'4".
I thought he was 6'5", 305.
23.
Oh wow! All
so he's a pretty good sized boy there.
Well, depending on where you look here.
See, real quick. I mean, I thought, again, like Tim said, I thought it was more of a Matt giving some bombastic side eye. More, just some sarcasm. Exactly. Because I really do. I like Donovan Jennings quite a bit. I can't remember. I thought he was maybe a University of South Florida guy, something like that. Was surprised with where we got him and kind of felt like more of a steal type guy that could have some potential. But then also, what do you think about the lack of any? Is John Williams been around? Is he even? That was a 7th round guy, right? Like, where'd he go? What's going on?
I don't think he's even been into camp yet.
That's
Tim,
weird.
Have we heard any? Has somebody help me out in the chat?
Cincinnati, I believe. John Williams. I think that's him.
Well, because Tim, I think last time you brought it up, like, hey, maybe he's trying to finish his degree or something. Maybe it's something college related, like before he gets into, because it's not training. If he's not here at training camp, something's up. We might be looking at another one of those draft picks that happened before with Goody, where the offensive lineman literally retired his first year in the league. So it's really, really strange. There it is, Deadfish. Jennings is 6'4". 323. So that was right, Tim. You had it right, brother.
Sweet.
So, pretty decent size, right?
Yep.
So, especially for guard. So, and then Tom is 6'4", 305. is what Ron said. And that just feels like a center, does it not, boys?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like a center. So let's see here. I think he was rehabbing today, talking about Williams. I hope you're right, Madden. Ed Madden. Maybe he was. Maybe he was there. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, though, for sure. And again, it's a 7th round pick. Like I'm saying that Rasheed Walker's anchored left tackle for the last few years, too, a 7th round pick.
We don't usually do super in-depth into the rehab groups anyway, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're going to see him because everyone's looking at Scoot right now, right? They're looking at every step he takes with that knee. But other than that, you can kind of lose guys in the mix. And then the rehab group, that can change by the day. You know, it depends on what day and what's going on. So
have you seen Watson, though, throwing like what looks like 30, 40-pound medicine balls over his head?
Oh, yeah.
Like doing the Olympian, like what's going on? I thought he was.
Yeah, this is Watson.
We talked about that last night a little bit about him being ahead of schedule and how, you know, just like these surgeons and doctors and trainers and just the technology we have now, these players are able to get back a lot quicker from these knee injuries than they used to be. And we saw it a couple years ago with Rashawn. He was kind of ahead of schedule and was able to get back after his knee injury. So, I think Scoot's looking good, man.
What was it, Tim, for Rashawn Gary? How many months was it? Was it 8? Am I thinking right? It was 8 months and he was back. Somebody help me in the chat with that. I would love to know when Gary tore his ACL and then his first game back. Because he was back week 1, wasn't he?
Week 9 in 2022, he tore it.
So week 9 would have been what, October?
November 6th.
November. Okay, so let's go December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 10 months. Okay, so 10 months.
But remember how he looked in June, July, and August, though.
Yep.
Like he was back before he was back. I remember being extremely excited when we saw that first day when they were actually letting him, you know, do some live reps and actually go out there and hit something. So yeah, I mean, I think could come back sooner than expected. I really do. I don't know how much sooner, but I think it's possible.
Because it's been 6 months now, right? So if it's June, so obviously he got hurt in January, so let's just count it off here. So July would be 7, 8 would be August, September would be 9. Yeah, man. October.
Yeah. Great point by Ron in the chat. Scoot is wearing cleats.
Yeah.
It's true. He's further along than we think. They're not going to let him do that if he's not ready.
Especially on turf and everything. And they had his, I think he said he had his helmet at certain points too. Like it wasn't just, I'm going to come out here and hang out with the team. Like he was.
And you got to love that in him as a player, right? That's that pro mindset where like, hey, cleats, gloves, helmet, don't get yourself out of rhythm. You know, it's time to get our legs under us. I don't want to have to come back from rehab and then get used to playing with equipment again, you know, and trying to get my legs underneath me. So I think Scoot it's a testament to his efforts as a pro and, you know, how he's handling this rehab.
I think absolute best case scenario for Scoot would be week 4-ish, you know, week 3, week 4. And
that would be a dream.
Yeah. More realistically, probably going to be like week 9, I would imagine, something like that. So,
yeah, Carolina or Pittsburgh, maybe. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it is
back just in time to go up against Aaron Rodgers. Let's go, dude. Let's go.
Or even if you get him back for Monday Night Football against the defending Super Bowl champions, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's crazy too to think about. Like you said, I had to step away for a second, but Tank Dell had another crazy injury. That guy looks like he's ready to suit it up in like 2-3 months. I think that, like you said, the surgeons, the rehab, the way these guys are able to take care of their bodies, it's just kind of impressive. Like even on like a nerdy level, you know what I mean? And how great would it be to maybe offset the wear and tear of a long season? We have that really early bye that I'm not excited about, but you get a guy like Christian Watson. Even if he comes back in week 12, bruh, you know what I'm saying? Like we have him for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks into that playoff stint where all of a sudden he's starting to absolutely turn into his best player while other people are starting to absolutely get down, downbeaten and deteriorated from just the long wear and tear of a season. It could be a blessing in disguise that we don't even know about.
Yeah. And I think it's important to try and get Scoot back on the field, with a little bit of, speed because you want them to get in the groove, and it's hard coming back after missing a lot of time, especially when you're talking live game speed, competitive football. But that being said, we don't want to rush it, right? You don't want to. I mean, he's in this whole mess because we just had to let him play against the Bears.
Yes, exactly.
So let's not dig ourselves another hole and bring him back 2 weeks early and have a massive setback. So,
and it would be so detrimental for him as a kid, dude, because we did like that was the whole knock is that he was always willing to play, ready to play, or I shouldn't say ready, but willing to put his body on the line to help the team.
Right.
And we need to be a little smarter in those situations and say, hey, dude, take a week off. Like you gotta.
I agree.
Completely. All right, so there's a little Scoot update. Somebody else who's coming back from injury this year, obviously he was banged up most of the year last year, is Luke Musgrave. Bill Huber from SI posted this video of Musgrave looks 100% good to go, right? He's a lot quicker than you would think, man. And his stride length, like he's definitely got great stride length. Hate that the ball was underthrown there. I'd like to see him kind of stretch that thing out, but it is what it is. Obviously, they're not going full speed. Luke Musgrave, man, it's another guy. We went from going, man, what are we going to do at receiver to all of a sudden we forget Musgrave can be flexed out too. If you want to show 12 and put him out wide.
Yeah.
I want to hold out hope for Musgrave. I was very, very high on him in the draft. Very high on him in the draft. And he did. I want to say he let me down. Like he gives a damn what I think, right? But it's just like, I don't know, man. Maybe this is the year that it just clicks and he stays healthy. And the people saying he's soft and this and that, and that drives me crazy. Dude finished the game while he was bleeding internally. Just
Look at this. I know again, way too early, right? And I don't want to like nerd out here, but he doesn't look like a baby deer anymore. Like
right.
Look at the feet. Look at his feet running that simple little route. Yeah, he didn't, like Soder said, he didn't fall down. Compressed,
it does look smoother. It looks way smoother.
He does.
The transition.
He looks more balanced. Looks a little
healthy.
bigger. He looks a little bigger too.
You know what's even more exciting is that for as fluid as he does look, and look at Tuck behind him though too, bro. He's going in and out of those cuts a little faster than I think I've seen him in the past. And if we have two athletic tight ends, which I'm not going to expect Musgrave to be the blocking, necessarily in inline style guy. That's not better in his game really ever, right? But if he can absolutely take that, what's it be now, a third year step into being that kind of seam buster, the guy that we just need him to stretch that defense, make them afraid of one other person to the point where, I mean, there's too many guys to guard, bro. We got too much speed. We got too many people that can absolutely open up on a defense. It's going to be, I really do think if everybody stays a little healthy, a little disciplined, I don't know, Tim, the sky's the limit, isn't it?
Oh, I agree. And the thing with Musgrave though is he's got to shore up that blocking, right? We know Matt's model, right? You don't block, you don't get the rock.
No rock.
Yeah, and we see that with Tucker Kraft, right? The guy does it all, Swiss Army knife, right? He'll get in there and lower the boom, and then he'll catch a fade route for a tutter on you. So I think we're trying to get Musgrave up to that kind of level and kind of round out his game. But this would be a great year for him to take that step, and if he does, I feel really good about the tight end room with him, Tuck Norris, and Big Ben Sims too. Another guy. Don't sleep on Ben Sims as well. So I feel good about the tight end position going into camp.
Funny too, we played that sound bite from Tucker Kraft last night on the show, and he said, "Yeah, I want to work on my vertical game." And you guys remember specifically, I said, "Man, throw a little stick nod in his game."
Ooh.
Watch his route right here. That's a stick nod. Out, up. That's a stick nod route. Pretty wild that the clip we got here is showing the exact route we mentioned last night. So I think they got the ability, the upside, the ceiling, if you will, to be the best tight end tandem in football, man. Tucker Kraft.
Imagine the roasting that a DB would get if he got stick nodded by a tight end.
Yeah. Especially, yeah. And then, of course, him doing that to say a nickel corner, a box safety, and then to see the post safety's eyes when he notices, damn, I've got to tackle this dude now. You know what I mean? He's I'm excited about what Tucker.
What do you think is more of a mismatch? A safety against a Tucker / Musgrave, or a linebacker that doesn't quite see how fast? You know what I'm saying? Like, which one would you prefer if you had? I mean, obviously the scheme dependent, play dependent, all that. But like, I feel like I could see Tuck running away for some linebackers like nobody's business. Mm-hmm. But I also feel like the height advantage over the safeties, like you said, could be just easy money.
Yeah. To me, it's real simple. Musgrave, his strength, his superpower is stride length He's significantly faster than Tucker. I want to say he ran a 4.61 and Tucker ran a 4.67. So it's speed, it's stride length, it's more of a receiving role, right? But Tucker is all yak. He's yak, piss, and vinegar. Like that dude will run through your face. So
and bush lattes and lung darts.
Yeah.
If you're asking me, Jacob, as a defensive coordinator, you could pick one that you want to go up against. I would rather go up against Musgrave because I can make sure that he doesn't take the top off. Tucker Kraft, it's hard to coach your players to stick your face in a buzzsaw, and that's what you got to do when you tackle Tucker. So I think it's more that physical game, and Tucker's a significantly better blocker than Musgrave as well. So you're going to see Tucker is that traditional Y, your big Y, and Musgrave is that that guy that's going to move around a little bit and get a little cheat motion out on a wheel or a cross country or something like that. So
no block,
Robert,
no rock.
What do you?
Yeah, Robert in the chat said, Kraft said he worked on separation. That's what we were just talking about. How he talked about that yesterday. He said creating separation in man coverage and my vertical game is what he was talking about. So you get to working on that again, like we talked about last night. These defenses, when they go and watch the tape, they watch the tape this whole offseason. And when they look at 85 and they game plan for Green Bay, they're going, hey, listen, this guy loves to catch the ball underneath and run through people's faces, right? So let's take that away. So if you start to clamp down on that and he hits you with a stick nod or he hits you with, a double move, you can see them biting on it. And if he's truly working on that separation, which when you talk separation, look at the footwork, like you pointed out there, Jacob. Watch Tucker's footwork. You could tell he's been working on it. Yep. That's clean, boys. That's crisp. And honestly, some people say that ain't a big deal. Go try that. Go try that little double move cut.
Yep. And see if you do it without falling over.
See if you do it.
And then, by the way, catch the football. That's right there in your face as soon as you turn out of the break.
Right. What'd you say, Jacob? You say something, Jacob?
No, I said along with the footwork, watch the head fake. Yeah, like the head fake that he has too. He's looking more wide receiver-ish, not just a bruiser. He's starting to polish that game a little more.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what these two guys can do this year for sure. Man, this show flew by. Jeez, Pete, we didn't get to cover half the stuff I wanted to. Let me hit this real quick. As more information has come out, it sounds like the Packers are going to absorb that entire $17 million cap penalty from Jair's contract. We talk about when you wait post June 1, you kind of roll it into next year, a portion of it. You could take the bigger hit this year or the smaller hit this year and bend the rest. It sounds like since they got all this cap space, as Matt Schneidman tweeted out, Packers are taking on Jair Alexander's full dead cap hit this year instead of spreading it out per source. That's what Brian Gutekunst was referencing. According to Over the Cap, that number is $17 million. So you go ahead and you get that cap penalty out of the way so you ain't got to fool with it next year. And again, right now we're sitting at $40-some million in cap space. That was before that $17 million cap hit. So now I want to say we're somewhere around $30 million in cap space this year. And next year, I think as it sits right now, we're sitting somewhere around $30 million as well. According to what I've looked at, and I've looked at the salaries that are on the books. I've looked at the projected salary cap for next year, which is always going to increase every year because NFL is king. I think we're sitting somewhere around $30 million. Now, that includes the draft class, but it doesn't include filling out the roster. And we know they're going to sign some of these guys to futures and things like that. That's going to eat up a little bit more as well. So I always tell people, man, get it within $5 million of an accurate number and you're good. Like you ain't got to break it down to the exact dollars. So
things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
I got to ask you guys, man, we got to retire the Jair clips, don't we?
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah, we do.
It just disappeared. It just disappeared. It's gone. They're all gone.
Just erased
Tim
it.
said, I'm not even waiting. It's all right.
It's gone.
It's fair.
Hey, when you go through a breakup, Tim, you don't listen. You delete
you
all the
that
pictures.
stuff up, get it out, get it away. Got to move on. Move
He
forward.
said you got to box it up. AFAM said I sell it on eBay. Is what he said.
Daryl, if you need to get rid of somebody, call Daryl. Apparently,
Daryl said I got a tank of acid that I make that disappear. You know what I'm saying?
That's terrible.
All right. I was gonna hit a little defense here real quick. We're like I said, we're out of time. Let's finish with the Patreon questions real quick because I've kind of put these off, and I definitely don't want to get in the habit of doing that. This is something that We want to keep everybody involved over on Patreon. If you want to join our Patreon community, just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. It's the best way to support what we do here at Packers Total Access. $3 get you access to everything on the site. Also get you entered into the giveaways. We're going to be giving away an autographed Romeo Doubs card in a case and everything, really put together well by Rick Kruger, one of our awesome listeners. Anybody
I just caught the ball.
Anybody who's a member of the $3 tier will be entered into that contest for a chance to win that card this coming week. Also looking for Damon Stewart, Randy, and Greg. I think Randy already came forward, and we were waiting to hear from Damon Stewart. I'll check those messages, and we'll go ahead and give that card away that we, like last 2 weeks, we've done a Kingsley Enagbare autograph card, and we also did a Lucas Van Ness autograph card. So just a way for us to give back to those who support the channel. You also get access to the questions for the show. So here are some of the comments/questions. Zach in the chat, Zach Metzenbar says, going back to the pod from last night, this is a couple of days ago, our third down efficiency was not very good in any of the losses we had. I think drafting Matthew Golden is the answer to that issue. He seems to show out the most in big moments. That's exactly what I'm seeing too, Zach. When his team needed him in college, I believe that will be his primary role, even if he doesn't put up, quote, wide receiver 1 numbers. I think you're spot on there. And as we're seeing in minicamp, a little back shoulder chemistry he's creating with Jordan, kind of feels like. And again, when you look at that and you think that's what Rome did, right? And there's a chance that Romeo gets traded before camp's over, right? There's a legit shot at that. If they like what they see in Golden, I could see them move on from Rome, and now he's the X. You know, that could be the case as well. Or if you just want to play him primarily at Z, that's perfect. You can put him primarily at Z, and then you let Wicks try to work himself into the X role along with Savion and McCole. We just talk about McCole, and here we are, not even mentioning him as the top 3. Like, who knows? That dude could come in and take the Z, and you put Golden at X. I'll tell you something else that could happen. Romeo Doubs could have his best training camp of his young career and force them to not take him off the field too. That could happen as well. So then we mentioned, of course, the Carrington talk. We won't hit that again. Last one, Trevor Anderson said, "Hey, Clayton, I don't have the tools to see what other teams did around the league, but people seem to think we have a problem in the secondary. We only allowed 2 100-yard receivers all season last year." I'm going to repeat that. Wow. We only allowed 2 100-yard receivers all season last year, and none against the Eagles in the playoffs. Not
Is that real?
Yeah, not cherry picking one stat to give the whole picture. I just found this one interesting, as I would have thought we gave up a lot more than that. You know why, Trevor? Because idiots talk about it as if they know what the hell they're talking about, and it's just simply not the case. It's not. I could be wrong here. Let's go look at the box score, guys. Week 1 against the Eagles, I'm almost positive one of those 100-yard receivers was A.J. Brown. And by the way, Jair was covering.
Jair, yeah.
So if you remove Jair's performance, then you only had one 100-yard receiver. I'm almost positive he had over 100 yards. And again, that's not saying Jair's a bad player. I'm still holding out a little bit of hope, and I know you're going to laugh at me. What if Jair goes to the market and it's less than what the Packers offered him in a restructure, and he just comes rolling right back into town?
And then Goody says, "We've moved on."
You think he will?
That's. I honestly, yeah. I don't think that.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Thanks.
I hate to be like that because I'm with you. Like, there's that small possibility that, hey, you get a call one day. Hey, is that offer still on the table? My gut's telling me Goody would say no, it's not. So,
yeah. And listen, here's the thing. I expected if he was going to sign, it was going to happen quick.
Yeah,
I thought, and he's still on the market. So I know it's been 2 days. I'm over here going, maybe he comes back. I don't know, because the team is better with him on it. There it is. Thank you, Bates. You are the man, dude. He said Brown 5 receptions, 119 yards in a tud. That tud, I remember it like it was yesterday. I almost want to pull it up real quick on NFL Pro. It was a stick knot. It was an out and up on the outside on the right. I could see it plain as day. And Ja bots on the double move, and he gets cooked over the top, and then he made Javon Bullard miss, which, again, Javon Bullard was single high safety. You can't put that on him. Yeah. So,
do you guys unfortunately, I just feel like the writing is on the wall. Somehow the jaw is going to be in purple, and whether that be purple in like Vikings, I think, or Baltimore, I could just see those are the types of teams that are willing to say, hey, We know what he can be when he's healthy. We just got to work on it. I think, though, that Clayton, I don't think it's crazy for you to say that he goes and tests the market because what we always say, you can't make the club in the tub. Jair has shown not only in the amount of games he has been available for or not played, but Ryan did a great job, too, of showing that he has been a hindrance sometimes in the locker room. He has one on record saying he didn't make critical tackles that would have either won playoff games or won divisional rivals against the Niners, against the Lions, against the Vikings. He admitted to it,
playoffs
that he knew he should have either made a play, wrapped up, didn't give full effort, didn't want to go, whatever the wording is. To me, I think teams look at that and say, yo, this dude's going to get to be about 30. He wants like 30 million a year, whatever, big money. No, that doesn't sound right to me.
That's what I think he's going to notice. And if you want to speculate on, he might go here, he might go there. Pittsburgh needs a corner. Could it be Minnesota? I think if you're going to try and speculate on where he might go, like Dave's saying here, Ravens make a ton of sense.
Oh yeah.
Him and Lamar Jackson are best good friends, So, okay, that makes sense. But is Baltimore going to overpay for Jair?
No.
Are the Minnesota Vikings going to overpay for Jair?
I think Minnesota would. Kwesi sucks, dude.
But that's my point. So if you want to narrow it down, start looking at organizations that are going to bow down and pay what Ja wants, because we already know Ja's not interested in renegotiating, or he wants what he wants, right?
Yeah. He thinks he's Jair from 4 years ago.
Well, all right, but one thing he has been, though, in this whole contractual mess of a process is consistent. He said, look, I want what I want. I'm not budging. Y'all can offer a restructure all you want. I'm not signing it. Well, that's what we did, right? And we moved on. So I think another team, any prospective new landing spot for him is going to be an organization that's willing to pay at least pretty doggone close to what Ja's looking to get.
Oh, Carolina. That makes sense.
Yeah, Carolina. That's where they didn't realize I was from here.
They must not have remembered.
An organization that might overpay for Jair could be
Duval.
I could see him down there in Florida too. He just looks like a Florida guy, don't he?
Yep,
for sure. Back to the poll question as we get ready to wrap up here real quick. I asked here on YouTube. I said, who would you rather start at left tackle, Rasheed Walker or Jordan Morgan? 58% of the viewers, and we had 71 votes, 58% of the viewers said Rasheed Walker. 42% said Jordan Morgan. So pretty close there, just a 16% difference. But you guys are on board with Rasheed Walker, and it's hard for me to argue with that because, again, man, he's been as good of a pass blocker as you could ask for, especially for a 7th-round pick. Like, we fell in love with him when we seen him violate that dude in college, right? That was but I didn't expect him to – and for him to sit a full year and then just come out in year 2 and just all of a sudden, man, look, this guy can pass block. Holy cow, pretty impressive. Again, the run blocking, leaves a lot to be desired, but you can't expect a perfect prospect in the 7th round, that's for sure. So,
Yep.
Anything else, boys? We good?
Nope. Just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, and I wish Julio would come around more.
Who? H.E. Soder said, poll is wrong, clearly rigged. There you go. Just like everything else on this show, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here, guys. I got a chance to get some brownie points tonight and actually not get threatened with a divorce for being up here too late. Last night we got, after the show, Tim, we sat up here another hour watching baseball videos, people getting beamed and fights from baseball games. And Mandy was like, it took a long time tonight. Yeah, it was a busy night. We had a lot to get done. So anyway, appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys were awesome. I want to give a special shout out to Vahan for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. That was very kind of you. Everybody in our Patreon community, thank y'all. You are the lifeblood of what we do here. Just supporting the show. You guys are awesome. So, and everybody on the podcast as well, man. I love that we're still getting feedback from everybody on the podcast. I know sometimes it's hard to catch us on YouTube, and hopefully we illustrate and make it entertaining enough in podcast form that you still want to listen to that as well. So, that being said, Jacob, Tim, appreciate y'all's time. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go back.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.